It's not a normal day for the Accident and Emergency Unit of the State Specialist Hospital, Maiduguri, Borno State. They have to attend to victims of multiple suicide bombings with very traumatic injuries, all inflicted by multiple explosions. First at a wedding ceremony in Gwoza, and then another inside the town. Who feels it, knows it. As these victims are in so much pain, they lack the energy to cry. Undeterred by the number of the injured and extent of the injury, the hospital personnel are hands-on to ensure that they receive urgent medical treatment.
As you can see, we brought about 31 victims of this bomb blast. We brought some yesterday, just about 12, who are not, they are still under treatment, who are not yet verified to be well. And they brought that one, but there was a curfew yesterday to this effect. But as of now, I think the situation is very tense because they are just discovering some of the victims affected. Now, as of yesterday, most of these victims were not known to be affected because they thought it was only maybe a few injuries. So maybe first aid treatments will take care of some of these cases. But as we can see, it is very severe. So we just hope they will get well.
These victims can't speak as the pains are excruciating, but the secretary of the local government shares what she knows about the bombing.
We can't say exactly how it happened because it was just all of the blues, from a wedding. There was a wedding, and at the wedding, well, the first bomb blast exploded. And after that explosion, in the course of the burials and packing of the corpses, the second bomb blast bomb exploded. And there was another one at a distance. That is all in the same street, but at a distance.
Some unanswered questions still hang in the air. The coming days will bring more clarity as a more comprehensive death toll, as well as updates of the injured, will hopefully emerge.
Well, the bombing in Gwoza, where at least 18 people, where I think we understand that the fatality numbers have since increased to about 21 or thereabouts, and 30 injured in a series of deadly blasts suspected to have been carried out by female suicide bombers is our first take this morning. Those of you who have been following the news would remember that Borno State has been at the center of a 15-year insurgency by militants, which has displaced more than 2 million people and killed more than 40,000. Now, let's begin this conversation this morning with the Commissioner for Information and Internal Security in Borno. But before that, Chamberlain.
Well, yes, thank you, Ayo. We've got Elder Ayuba Basa, who is the National Coordinator, Gwoza Christian Community. He joins us here in the studios. We'll also come to Prof. Good morning, Elder. Thank you for joining us today.
Good morning.
Now, I'm sure that you are in touch with your community there.
Of course.
So tell us, what can you tell us about what happened and what the current situation is at the moment?
It was really a black Saturday. It has affected Gwoza to the blood. What happened was the infiltration of trained women, including a teenager, as suicide bombers. And they were able to come to carry out a mission. We have learned that there are above 30 who were trained to do that, but few of them succeeded.
More than 30?
Yes, who were trained.
And are they all women or men and women?
Women, because it's the easiest way of infiltrating people. Man, if you dress in a questionable manner, you can easily be dictated. But and then women are easy target most of the time because you can't find them. They don't even know the joy of the war. So they are enclave. not seeing anything good, so they tend to see their life as not much that important as men who were roaming up and down, going to see the towns, hopeful of getting more money, building houses, getting women again to marry. You know, most of them are not easy targets as suicide bombers, but those women are there in a cave, illiterate, knows nothing. Ask them to write their name, they cannot write their name. That girl, teenager, doesn't know, she has never attended primary one in her life. So it's easy, their brain is empty. Whatever you put in there, they believe it.
Well, Elder, how did you get the info that they trained about over 30 or so?
It's very easy to get that information from a lot of sources. These people, most of them live close to the community. I once said that if the IDP camps are not dismissed, it will continue to be a breeding ground again for more Boko Harams.
I want to be able to talk to you about them because the issue has brought up the problem of these super camps. Because yes, what happened was that they took away a lot of the formations in the local camps and then moved them to these super camps. And there's a report that basically says since the creation of these super camps, local communities have been more vulnerable to attacks. And just so that we can talk a little bit about those women, the reports, those 30+ women who we heard were sent to do these attacks came in from Pulka and the Mandara mountains, yes, around the area, and then there was one that they said was detonated at a checkpoint while they were investigating her. Yeah. Talk to me about the security in Gwoza, because this is not the first time. This has been going on for a very long time. What happened to the security around Pulka, Mandara mountains? How were they able to come into Gwoza fully? 30 women, and we haven't caught 25 yet.
Yes. Mandara Mountain has been their breeding ground for a long time, and they were able to dislodge every village and hamlet on that mountain, because that mountain hosts most the population, more than half of the population of Gwoza. But it is now empty. The people that are there are Boko Haram. Up to now, they are Boko Haram. Only Boko Haram lives on that mountain. And then...
So how is this? What happened to security in that area? Because everyone knows this.
They are always under a kind of trade. I don't know. Sometimes political will given to them are being hijacked. You know, Boko Haram are in 3 stages, 3 classes. First class are our political elites. Second class are the Boko Haram leaders who both have the political and the religious. They use religions to deceive those third class who are their soldiers, who doesn't know anything. And then they use politics to come to politicians to gain more ground. And you know, that's how they operate. So these ones in the middle have both politics and religion. Those ones down, only religion, nothing education, nothing politics. The ones up are pure politicians. That's how they operate.
Elder, how do members, people in that community, how do you live with this knowledge that, look, you could be infiltrated at any point in time, lives could be lost at any time? How do they manage that?
Somebody, when you talk, it's like no one is hearing. Those camps that we talk about, you will find a Boko Haram woman who supposedly, being rescued. She has been there in the camp for 7 years, giving birth to extra 3 children without a father. The father is in the bush, is a Boko Haram member. In the night, she will, in the name of going to look for wood, she will go and meet with her husband to take another child. This is a breeding ground. She is breeding up offspring again to him or for him.
What about government? What are they doing? Do you think they're doing enough on this matter? Both state governments in this time, first of all.
Chamberlain, whatever you did not take it as it is and deal with this as it is, once you mix it up with religion and politics, that government will not even succeed, because even the government itself are mixing things up.
Let's hear from a member of government. He's the Commissioner for Information in Borno State, Professor Usman Tar. Thank you for joining us on the program today. Well, it's a very tough one for particularly families, even residents of those areas who perhaps don't know what to expect tomorrow. So tell us, for you, government, what's going on? How come governments couldn't nip this in the bud?
Thank you very much. Borno State has been undergoing insurgency and counter-insurgency since 2009. There were moments of utter devastations and there were moments of relative success. For the past 7 years, 6 to 7 years, there has been some degree of success in nipping the problem in the bud. In the first instance, we have the kinetic operations, that is the counter-insurgency operations being manned by the armed forces and other security agencies, putting boots on the ground, carrying out intelligence operations, and taking the battle to the adversary and pushing them to tight corners. This is the first, and it has achieved a lot of success. Not, final success, but it has led to the attempt to surrender by the adversary. On the other hand, we have the non-kinetic operation, that is investment in psychological operations, investment in hearts and minds, and reaching out to the adversary, offering them the olive branch to surrender unconditionally in return for rehabilitation. The Borno model for peace, reconciliation and development, which used to be the Borno model for mass exit of terrorists, has so far succeeded in bringing out of the woods, out of the forests, over 160,000 persons, most of whom are innocent people that were trapped in the lines of battle. Of this number, about 5,000 are carriers of arms. They are militants, which in the final analysis were classified into high-risk and low-risk militants. The Hajj camp in Maiduguri, which is the temporary site for the rehabilitation, has so far succeeded in rehabilitating some of these returnees. And the model is very simple. It's community-owned, it's locally owned by the state without prejudice to the federal DDRR program. And we are working very closely with the federal government in order to align the Borno model with the federal government's DDRR program. The model is very simple. Any group of terrorists, any individual or group of terrorists and their families who are willing to surrender, call a hotline and they are directed to the nearest military formation. The military takes charge, the military profiles them in the first instance, and the Borno State government provides transportation to the camp where they undergo series of rehabilitation, de-indoctrination, civil education, categorization, profiling, where a lot of intelligence is teased out of them. Those that were eventually cleared, the communities are invited. Across the board, communities are invited to come and identify those that they are willing to take back home. And they come with their drums and they pick the ones that they are willing, those that they think are innocent or low risk, and they take them home. And so far it has proved very, very successful because of that local ownership. Is it a perfect program? No. The model came out of trial and error, and we have a lot of challenges, but we have largely overcome those challenges, and we are still working with the relevant agencies and our global and local partners in order to fine-tune the model so that it works for the people. It is very much like the Rwanda Gacaca model. Actually, we have had series of consultations with our global partners, including experts from Rwanda, and we have learned from Cambodia. We have learned from all over the world in order to perfect the Borno model. We are still working. It's a work in progress, but so far so good. A lot of the terrorists have actually surrendered, but we still have some more. Pardon?
Prof, it's interesting. Hello, Prof. It's interesting.
Yes.
We're talking about the security situation in Borno and the lapses that led these terrorists to be able to infiltrate a wedding, a funeral, a hospital. And interesting that you're bringing up the situation of repentant Boko Haram terrorists. So let's talk about that.
Okay.
You said just now it's not a perfect model.
Yes.
When they come back, what happens to them afterwards? You do a rehabilitation program, and then after a while we hear that they are reintegrated into the society. What happens afterwards? Are they being monitored?
Yes, it's not all of them that are integrated back to society. The high risk, they continue to be detained in the camp for further necessary action. Remember that terrorism is a federal crime. The ones that are low risk and the innocent farmers, they are rehabilitated. They undergo screening, categorization, which involved biometric data capture for continued surveillance even after they have been released. It includes the indoctrination training.
Not to cut you, sorry to butt in here, but we are talking about the low risk, okay? We understand that the high risk ones will have to face the law and whatnot. But how do you determine the level of brainwashing? How do you determine the level of someone's, ability to change, or how much information on how much it's brainwashing? Really can't put another word there. But how do we determine how much brainwashing has happened to somebody that you are terming low risk? There's also the situation, and I talked about it earlier, about super camps and what that has done to local communities like Gwoza and, of course, Polka and the Mandara Mountains, where we're hearing that a lot of these terrorists came in from. What's happening to security at those local levels as well?
Thank you very much. The low risk are determined in terms of their culpability. For instance, child soldiers that were indoctrinated and conscripted under duress. They were, at the time of their, capture by the terrorists, they were, minors. And when they return back, it is very difficult to, pinpoint at them as, as terrorists per se. So they are considered low risk. But let me say this: we have experts in intelligence, in psychology, and so on, that profile these returnees. So, and there is a benchmark that they use, globally acceptable benchmark that they use to determine the level of risk. As for the super camps, I think you are referring to IDP camps that are yet to be decommissioned. The Borno State government has taken a formal decision to decommission all the IDP camps and return the people back to their villages and towns, starting with Maiduguri. Maiduguri used to have, a number of IDP camps, big camps. Those camps have all been decommissioned with the exception of few informal camps. And going forward, the camps in the villages will also be decommissioned and people will be returned back to their enclaves. And the standard operating procedure is to deploy military forces and civilian JTF to excavate the villages to be resettled, after which the people will be resettled, and the excavation is to a radius of 5 kilometers in the first instance around the villages. And if the population increases, then the excavation, the paraphase will also be expanded to like 10 kilometers. That is the SOP that we are using to resettle all the villages and towns. So the so-called super camps and so on, we are working very hard to decommission them.
Prof, I'd love to take you on some of the issues raised earlier with our guest in Abuja, but let me first of all ask him a number of questions, if he agrees with some of the things that you have said, towards this morning on this program, because they sound quite lofty and interesting. So, Mr. Basa, let me come to you. All of the issues that you have raised, particularly, let's begin with how convinced you are about the comments of the Commissioner for Information and Internal Security. How assured are you? How assuring does it sound both to you and to the people? As he said, it's been 15 years.
They sound so sweet to the listening ears, but it's not the reality of issues. When you are at that hot point, somebody like me who missed, I just lost a very close friend in the bomb on that Saturday, and also an in-law who lost his limbs in this incident. And my village, paternal and maternal, host the Boko Harams up to now on the Mandara Mountain. We've been crying, clear these people, clear these people. They're always sending trade. No one is listening. So as sweet as that may be, it doesn't hold water. Clear the camp. They don't listen. Someone is benefiting. The only way to deal with this, one of the class out of the 3 classes has to be dismantled. Either the first class, that is the politicians that are supporting these people, or the second class, the Boko Haram leaders, or the third class. The third class is just talking about the third class, but they couldn't do anything about them. They are being recruited every day. You pack 1,000 today, another 1,000 will join them the next day. So one of this class has to be dismantled completely to be able to find a track of dealing with Boko Haram.
Sometimes,
that's all I can say about this.
Mr. Bassa, sometimes, I mean, we hear stuff about, security, particularly this bombing situation that we're talking about. And some other times it will seem like, okay, everything is okay now. Now, do you think what happened that we're talking about now, where we've had more than 20 fatalities, is this something we saw coming, or was it just something that happened on us suddenly?
We always saw it coming. We always saw it coming. And people have been making noise. We know they are being breathed in the camps. We know where the hamlets where they live. We know, we send messages, we speak about it. We do a lot of things, but no one is hearing. Those 3 classes know what they are doing exactly. In fact, there are some horrible experiences that none of them we could trust. We cannot trust armies, we cannot trust civilian JTF, we cannot trust anybody who stands in the name of politics that is willing to fight for these people anymore. Because whatever you choose is not going to work. It is what they choose. Whatever you say is not going to work. It is what they think it works. Someone doesn't know the pain, doesn't know what is happening, would be determining the solution for you. And that doesn't work. We continue to suffer, to go back and front, and it will not cease unless we begin to listen and take proper action on how to deal with this thing.
Well, Prof, you heard Mr. Bassa, and one can say he's one of those people that could help the government to deal with this issue, Prof. So let's see, what's your take? How do you respond to the issues that he has raised, particularly the part where he mentioned that a class of people that are responsible for this insecurity being pervaded, they are politicians?
A professor of political science, I can tell you that all these classes that he mentioned are theoretical. When you are in the domain of politics, you will see your viewpoint will be quite different from the viewpoint of a bystander. And I respect the gentleman, and I commiserate with him over the death of his relatives. We are all affected. Borno is a closely knit community. We are all, married to each other, across the board. So to, delineate or to create imaginary boundaries doesn't hold water. The classes that he's talking about is also very theoretical. Practically, the Borno State Executive Council, in the council, we have all, representatives of all the local government areas. The Borno State House of Assembly has representative from each of the local government areas. So, there are people from these areas that are represented in government. And the government, when it takes decision, it's a collective decision. Now, to say there is a class that is detached from this and that, I think is very, very theoretical. That said, from a practical point of view, I can tell you that I am a member of the Borno State Security Council. The council sits every month and takes reports from military units formation, from villages, from traditional rulers, from, associations on the security situation on the ground. I'm not talking about someone sitting in Abuja and doing analysis. I'm talking about the receiving reports on the ground on a real-time basis. And the State Security Council takes decision. And the council is People's Council. The council are
so, Prof, on that,
traditional rulers.
Jumping in on this, if you can hear me, Prof, my sincere apologies for butting in.
All sorts of people are represented
just a second,
in the council.
On that, if we are aware that these things would happen, my sincere apologies for butting in. If we, just as you said, government receives these information, these security reports and all of that. If we were aware, if we have all of these reports, did we see this coming? Did we see this attack coming? Did we see these fatalities coming? Did you get intelligence that this was going to happen, and could it have been avoided so that we don't lose the people? Mr. Bassa, for instance, believes that everyone saw it coming. Did the government saw it coming? Did the government see it coming? Could it have been avoided? And what happened?
Thank you. Well, you don't rule out attack in a situation like this. But I can tell you that each military unit, each formation does its own threat assessment and takes decision. And in doing so, we refer to each other, and there is a pool. There is a pool where we speak to each other. If we had seen this particular one coming, we would have taken preemptive action. Probably the attackers were smuggled into Gwoza. They did not come through the normal checkpoints. And this is quite possible. So, yes, the risk was there, but we are not very sure about who was going to carry out the attack and so on and so forth.
Could we say then that there was intelligence failure?
Action.
Can we say that there was intelligence failure if we didn't see it coming, if government didn't see it coming?
No, there is no intelligence failure. The intelligence institutions are doing their best. They are providing projections all the time. And as soon as they provide projection, we take action. We deploy to areas of fault lines.
But you just said now that,
as you know, the terrorists will always look for opportunity to attack.
But
this is a global
just said now,
SOP
Prof,
for terrorists.
that they used a different route from what was expected.
Yes, probably.
So, that is what some people will call intelligence failure.
It's not intelligence failure. It's an error that we did not see coming. If terrorists want to attack, they want to follow a particular route which you don't know. What can you do? As you know, our boundaries are porous. That is international. Even our local boundaries are porous, in spite of the fact that we do have excavate and so on. But the terrorists, if terrorists want to attack, they do that attack using default lines, and that was probably what happened.
Well, Mr. Bassa, let me come back to you in our Abuja studio. So this is his own position. This is the government's position on this matter, that it was something that happened that they didn't see coming, and that if they knew that it was going to happen, that they could have taken proactive steps to make sure it doesn't happen. What's your response to that?
Yeah, it's so pathetic. This is a prof we're talking about. You see how people are being, used like a remote control. He is speaking the minds of his bosses upstairs. He doesn't want to say the truth, and he knows the truth. If he says otherwise, he will be blamed, actually. He said, I'm here in Abuja, relaxing or doing something. Prof, I happen to be the second person in the whole of Gwoza to build a high-rise building. My building was burnt. My uncle used it because he was a Boko Haram member, and it was later burnt. And in front of my house, 4 of my relations were shot, dead, killed by a relation of mine who was a Boko Haram member also. 5 of my uncles were slaughtered because they are Shiite. In belief as a Muslims. They were slaughtered in abattoir. So I could feel the pain, and then you are just sitting there as a prof, as a researcher, who will say probably or so, but categorically you say no. You are supporting the intelligence issue that there is no any. No, I cannot do that. I'm not a kid. You have to come out of your shell and say the truth. Please, that is the best I can.
Is government? You clearly think that government has information or they don't have information about what's going on?
Chamberlain, government knows each Boko Haram leader, knows them by name, knows where to find them, can invite them and all of them will come.
How do you say this for sure?
I had some terrible experience that revealing it on national TV sometimes may seem somehow. 4 of my elders were arrested, by Boko Haram, what do you call civilian JTF. The civilian JTF during Shetima were inaugurated, and they visited one of my hometown called Barawa in the name of going to capture some people that are helping military. So those they were captured, they were beaten to pulp, brought to the camp of the army, that these are Boko Haram. Army said, no, we know them. They are not Boko Haram, we won't shoot them. At the end of the day, Army now say, okay, women, we will release them tomorrow. Women fellowship were there, these are our children. Say, we don't know. Former vice president was vice chairman of the local government. Baba Musa Barawa is my uncle. Was there. He said, no, I have been the former vice chairman of the local government. Please release them. We know them. Including him, 4 of them up to now, we don't know where they are. They were. For the past 7 years, we've been looking for them. So we have a terrible experiences with regard to this.
Well, we'll come back to you. But Prof, we have to go. Just quickly give us your quick response to what Elder Yuba has said.
Thank you very much. The gentleman, I respect him. We are all citizens of the same state. We are all affected by this insurgency, all of us. I also lost relatives as a result of the insurgency. We are all victims of this insurgency. Any binary classification is theoretical. That is what I meant. And if he is offended by this, my comment, I tender my apology. But we are all victims. We face the same existential threat. We have to come together in order to face this callous enemy. And when I speak, I am not speaking to please anyone. I am speaking the fact. I am a professor of defense and security studies. There is no reason for me to speak to please anyone. I am saying the fact. If your fact differs from mine, please just accept it, and I respect your opinion too. But we all agree that we are dealing with a common enemy, and we have to work together to do that.
All right, Professor Usman Tar, thank you very much indeed for your time this morning.
Thank you so much.
I mean, I wish we had more time to talk to him, because there's a lot that he needs to clarify. We talked about those, because you see, in all of this, the security, there was a breach. And this security at local levels is one that needs to be looked at, which is where the issue of because he's still talking about IDP camps. We weren't talking about IDP camps. We're talking about military formations in local government areas, in local places. And that's something that I wanted to get your thoughts on. What's the security like? How was it so porous that they were able to infiltrate and come into a wedding inside Gwoza? What failed in your view?
My sister, camp becomes a feeding ground for most of the politicians. Without camp, they will not find it, as a lucrative means of making money. They support whatever comes into the camp, as long as people will remain there and supplies will be given through them, and that the training, whatever that is happening within the camp, no one checks anybody. The security men are just by the gate. Whatever that is happening there, they could be training people, they could be doing whatever they want to do there. No one will say, why are you doing this? No. At the end, they will say, no, we are practicing our religion. You just keep quiet. How dare will you go near to somebody's wife? No, don't go there. Remain at the gate. So whatever they do there,
What's the situation now in Gwoza? You've been in contact with your family.
Of course.
What's the security situation? Because there's a lockdown in place right now.
Yes.
How is everyone handling that? Because we've seen lockdowns in Gwoza before.
Of course.
And it didn't change anything.
Of course. People are at home, but not finding it easy, actually. One, they are not sure whether being at home is safe also, because these people can go out and no one could see how they move. They can still go to anywhere they want to go and still infiltrate anywhere they want to infiltrate, but the only thing is that they won't find high gathering, and that's all. But they could kill families or targets. They are being sent on a mission.
So for you, the camps have got to be dismantled completely as a first step?
Of course, of course. And then the Mandara Mountain. If you can dismantle these two, clear all the villages, the Gwoza East, allow these people that troop into this camp to go back to their respective areas, and then put securities in those villages. That will solve the problem.
Elder Yuba Basa is the National Coordinator of Gwoza Christian Community Association. Thank you for coming on, and we commiserate with you and all of those who lost lives in that unfortunate incident.
Thank you very much.